So if I'm buying something, why am I buying it? If I'm after a team or some sort of IP or regulatory perimeter, I imagine I'm better off with the equity because I'm going to coordinate behavior more thoughtfully that way. If I believe in liquidity, network effects, the user base, I'm probably better off with the token. The issue is, if I go for the token, do I have to buy all the tokens in circulation? Do I have to buy a majority? Do I retire them? How do I make them neutral? Are there going to be weird post-merger integration issues because a minority of token holders create a small riot against the decision to buy? And so like all these things I think are not resolved. And in general, I do think that it's tricky because when you invest in both the equity and the token, you feel, hey, I've got optionality, right? One might work, one might not work. Maybe there's some downside protection. What could, I'm covering all my bases. And I think the problem there is that it may be actually deferring conflict to a time when it's much more painful to deal with. And so I would imagine you either want something where the outcomes of both are like so clearly aligned from the get-go that they can coexist, but that feels rare. I think people usually cite Uniswap as like the classic example of stuff that seems to have worked, but most things I don't think have that great story. And so maybe you start with one and collapse it, and then you stick with the other. But having this thing go on for a long time, I think it's also very difficult for institutions, right? They may see something be listed as a token, and lots of people come into the marketplace because they don't have the same restrictions necessarily as the institution. They buy into it, and then maybe the fundamental value is already priced into the token, and it's harder for the institution then get involved. It's very tricky business, but in general, I find it hard to believe that both can coexist for a long period of time as something scales.